are back with another interview. We have with us Laura Rose Ware. She is in the UK, awesome female Black landscape nature photographer. And yeah, the time difference is big. So stick with us. She is was late for her and kind of midday for here in the in California, but nevertheless, we're welcoming Laura.
Yeah, so thank you very much, obviously, for having me and, give me the option and a platform to be speaking, about the great things that us nature and landscape photographers do. So yeah, it's amazing to be a part of this.
Yeah, we are excited that you are a part. You have been one of our beginning members of the group going back to June 2020. And, who would have thought that, the pandemic would have, taken place for 2 years.
Right.
But anyway, so let's kick this off by, starting with a little bit about you, where you are, and, how you got started in the landscape and nature photography genre.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you said, the time difference, I'm in London in United Kingdom, so in the UK. I actually grew up, though a lot of people probably that are from London, UK will hear different things with my accent, because I grew up in a smaller city called Bristol, which actually, I think there's actually a Bristol in America, which is quite funny. We have like neighboring cities, but yeah, we have a little bit more of a twang to our some of our words, and we say ers and rs different. So yeah, I actually grew up in a smaller city, which was a lot more, I suppose, nature based and things like that. Being in London is really a main city, so that I suppose that was a change from moving between there. But yeah, I think that's kind of showcased the difference in how I've changed within moving into photography. And I think starting in photography, I didn't really know I was a photographer, I suppose, until about 2017. Okay. So it's funny when you look at it, I suppose it was after I had my youngest daughter, and I was kind of finding myself, finding that thing for me again, like, what am I doing? What am I doing outside of being a mom? And I was, I wanted to get a camera. I always took pictures on my phone. And I was like, I really want to get an actual camera and just see, how I would do things a bit differently with that and just try that. And so kind of that's where it started, kind of with the photography journey then.
Okay, so you got your camera. What camera did you get at that time?
My first camera that I picked up was a Sony A200. So very basic kind of DSLR model. I think it was an LSR, they said then. But yeah, it was, very basic model. Someone was actually getting rid of it. So it was actually, they were giving it away. So I was like, oh, wow, I couldn't believe my luck. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try this thing out. I didn't know anything about using an actual camera. But yeah, I was just willing to learn and see what I could create, and always wanted to try and, create some of the amazing pictures that I'd seen around me. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into it again then.
All right, so when you got this camera, this Sony camera.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Where I think that relates into kind of where we are now, because everyone's so big on, oh, are you a Nikon user? Are you a Canon user? And I'm actually a Nikon girl now. I've been a Nikon girl for the longer time. So sorry, that's a big no-no, I think, to a lot of people, because right now it's the opposite. I feel everyone's leaving Nikon, leaving Canon to go to Sony. But I kind of see two ends of the spectrum. I suppose picking up that Sony, it was only something like maybe a 12 megapixel then. But what I created some amazing pictures. Some of my first pictures, I love, and I still look at now and say, those are the first pictures. Maybe emotionally, I'm more, attached to them because they are my first pictures, but I still feel they were good quality for what I produced. And so, yeah, I think it was only changing over later when, my skills started to maybe, like, I could see that I could create something a bit better. I needed better tools to help me, that I then started to look for something different. But Sony, I mean, the picture quality, everything was kind of there then. I didn't have any problems with them. Very easy to use. So yeah, no problems with Sony, but yeah, I did leave them eventually.
It's so funny because our co-founder Keisha, she shoots Sony and I shoot Canon. So anytime someone mentions Sony or Canon, I'm like, Sony. Yeah, but you said Nikon, but Nikon. No, yeah.
I know, it's funny, but I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think we always kind of maybe tend to stick with what we start with and what we learn, and maybe if we find it easier or if that comes naturally. And then I'm kind of quite loyal to brands, and I don't know why. They don't really owe me anything else. I was like, until Nikon actually, you know, endorsed me or something, I'm not going to be held to a brand. But actually, yeah, I just kind of, you know, I picked up 2 of them, and I remember just playing around with the buttons, and that came just naturally to me, and I just found that was comfortable, and I just started shooting with that. And yeah, I just kind of stuck with it from there. I mean, that won't mean that I will always stay with the brand. If like, as things change and times change, you know, new things you want to capture or new capabilities become available, you know, then I'm always open to options.
Absolutely. So when you got your first camera to the camera that you have now, how did that transition go for you? You know, did you find like when you started out with that first camera that you had and you're like, okay, this
It was
is
exactly
different.
that. It was exactly that, because I was like, why am I not creating these pictures that I'm seeing everyone creating? And I'm just like, I don't get what I'm doing wrong. You know, I kind of started out and I was like, oh, maybe I'm actually not that good at this. And I did think about that. And I think it was then that I started really, you know, trying to learn. And, you know, people were saying to me, yeah, you just got to take yourself off automatic, you know, jump on your manual mode and just play around and start finding your light and finding, you know, different things. And that's really how you're going to get stuck in and learn your camera. So that was kind of the advice that I was given. And, you know, I would look at, you know, YouTube videos of how this works or how my camera settings worked, because I picked up, I think, my from like secondhand, so it didn't have any like manual work or anything like that. I was just kind of learning as I went, and yeah, I just started really kind of learning the camera inside out, and then yeah, just finally starting to, you know, tick like, oh, this is how the lighting works, oh, this is what saturation is, oh, this is what contrast does, and bringing it together. So yeah, the transition between the two was wild, to say the least.
So now that you understand and you got your, you know, you're at a much different level with your photography, what are the subject matters that, you know, you are drawn to capturing now? I know you mentioned earlier that you went from an area that had a lot more landscape to now the big city. And, you know, so how do you balance that, and what do you focus on?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, because I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm like an in the box person. I never like to be like, I'm just that. And when someone sometimes asks me, oh, you know, what kind of photographer are you? I always sort of say nature, because I started in nature, and nature is always something that I feel is my place. That's my go-to, is, you know, my peace, my place that I go to ground myself, you know. And I've always kind of done that. And that's something even from childhood, you know, I'd be the one that was climbing the trees and, you know, just out getting muddy and getting out and kind of pushing things like that. So nature and photography kind of gel together that way for me. But at the same time, I love trying new things, you know, and I never want to kind of close myself off where I'm not, you know, trying new things. So the pandemic kind of showed me that as well, not to be, I suppose, shy in being like, oh, you know, this is kind of out of my depth, what's this, let me have a try of that. So I have done some other stuff like lifestyle, a few portraiture, but yeah, I think I always find myself coming back to nature, because there's no pressure, there's no judgment, you know, you can just get out. And especially when you have kids, like, you know, if we have a trip to the park now, I'm like, this is a win-win situation. You're going to play, I'm going to see some nice things, I'm going to, you know, take my camera along, and we both kind of, you know, use that time. So yeah, it's really nice to bring that in. I think that's where nature photography fits for me.
So you brought up the pandemic. So with these 2 years of the pandemic that we had experienced, you know, what are some of the things that has attributed to the photographer that you are today?
I think it's a funny one, because in the beginning I was kind of thinking, you know, it's hard, you can't really go anywhere, you can't do anything. But I think it kind of makes you more creative when you're stuck in a space or you don't have a lot of things to do or things like that. You know, I think in the very first beginning part of the pandemic, everyone was kind of like, you know, trying new things, you know, getting out there, trying to, you know, just go to their local spaces a lot more. And what I started doing is just traveling to places that I maybe haven't even visited or looked at. It was maybe like an hour drive from me or 30 minutes from me, you know, somewhere where we were still allowed to visit. And I was so surprised to what I found on my doorstep, you know, what is really outside. And it sounds crazy, but yeah, there's beautiful places you can pass all day long. And people think that you just have to, you're only going to get nice pictures or something if you visit, some of these beautiful landmarks and things like that, when there's so much beauty around us that. So I think the pandemic did really give us that, come back down to basics and really see what is on offer around. And that's actually part of what I'm going to be doing more of this year, which is, visiting more places on our doorstep. And there's some amazing like nature reserves and everything like that I didn't know about. So that's been definitely a contributing and positive thing from the pandemic, I can say that. Within saying that, I think, there's definitely been challenges. And I think when you're trying to grow and trying to expand who you are as a photographer and where you're fit in, it also gave me a bit more not self-confidence, but it kind of made me struggle a little bit with imposter syndrome. So like looking at other people's work and how they were doing things and how am I doing things, it made me question a lot of stuff, and I had to really like evaluate myself a little bit. So I think I had to look into that and just seeing like, where do I fit in this world. I think especially as being nature or landscape photographers, we're quite in I wouldn't say a safe space, but it is like, people don't see that as so much as a pressure. You go out, you can take a picture of a flower. How do I stand myself differently from everybody else where it just goes, oh, that's another beautiful flower, you've got on your line. So it's making me kind of look inside myself a little bit and like, what do I really want people to see? What do I really want to do? How am I going to do things differently? It really gave me more insight, I think, in anything of how I do things and who I am as a person.
So have you seen, which I'm sure you have, but I'm just going to ask anyway. So the yesterday Laura to the today Laura, when you're looking at your images, do you see like a dramatic difference, from before the pandemic to the Laura today?
I definitely say I'm definitely being more bold and taking more risks and trying to put myself in, I would say, more uncomfortable space. Like, trying to tackle that uncomfortable. So even things like this, really, I'm not really used to doing, I suppose, the other side of the camera and, talking and things like that. Like, I love to talk. People will say, yeah, you don't shut up. I think you can talk. But at the same time, in this kind of context. So I was like, I've seen so many people struggle emotionally in their mental health space. Even for us, it's been such a long time for all of us. We've all had to adapt to our lives differently. And I think that just really made me appreciate the time that we have. And, if we keep being like, really just not letting ourselves grasp these opportunities that are there or try something new, we never know. And tomorrow is not promised. So we just give you that kind of, just go say yes and figure it out as you go along, and then just try and see. And if you don't like it, then don't do it again. But at least you can say you tried. And that's kind of what is giving me, going through.
Exactly. Well said. When it comes to, you being out and you've experienced with your camera, and oftentimes, and, I'm sure that you've heard it as well, people go, oh my gosh, such beautiful pictures. What camera are you using?
I think it's like the number one thing you shouldn't say to like, oh, I like your camera. Oh, your camera's really great. And it's like, yeah, your camera is great. And, it is a great tool. And I say that, but I also say I taught it really well. And I think that, that comes down to a lot of what we see. And sometimes that was a big part of my imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, these people had, great cameras, great lenses, great things. Or maybe that's why, they're capturing things different. But then I actually realized that, I have a story to tell. I think we all have a story to tell, and we all have a vision and a way of seeing the world, and that is unique to us. The emotions, the way we think of things, the way we see things, that's only can be shown by us. And I think the way in which we capture the world around us, we get that's that part of photography that I love, that we get to show a little bit of ourselves and and how I see the world. And then you might relate to that, or it might give you a new perspective on, oh, I hadn't thought of that, or I hadn't seen it in that way. So I think that sharing and that collaborative energy that it brings, that's what really kind of inspires me to think, oh, it doesn't have to be about the camera or what tools you made. And that kind of goes back into, like I said, not knowing I was a photographer until 2017, when I really picked up that first camera. But actually, if I looked back at myself, the first camera I really started using was a Kodak. and it was a disposable camera. It was the Insta ones, not like the nice cute little Instax ones that they have now, but a big kind of gray one, you know, it came out the front, and I would shake it like Outcast, you know, make the picture come out, shaking it. But I was, you know, I was obsessed, and I was only, you know, around 10 at the time. And I remember my nan had first shown me, you know, the small little ones that you take kind of on holiday. You put the film in, and then you'd have to wait for ages for the store to bring back so you could actually see what you captured on them. But I was just kind of interested in how that worked, how that, you know, looked. And I don't know about in America, but in the UK, we have Argos, which is kind of like a multi-store. So they have like electrical items, home goods, everything. And I would say, you know, we'd look through the Argos catalog at Christmas time, be like, what could I have? And I found this Kodak. I was like, I want the Kodak camera. I want it. You know, I had the little 10-pack of film that came with it. And I was like, I really want that. I won't ask for nothing else. I just want that camera. And that kind of was the first camera that I really picked up. And I would take pictures of everything. And I loved that, probably being, you know, impatient as how kids are, that I didn't have to take it to the shop. I could just get that picture straight away, see what I had on it. And that kind of inspired me first to get started in, you know, photography. So if I really look back, it actually started a lot earlier than I thought. I didn't know I was a photographer then, but the interest was there. So yeah, it's interesting.
What do you find to be the hardest part about photography?
Probably myself. I feel like just like I said, dealing with the imposter syndrome, dealing with not knowing where to place yourself or not feeling sometimes worthy, and also definitely being, you know, a woman of color in an industry where it's very white male dominated, has definitely been a challenge. You know, you don't always feel seen, you don't feel heard. If you do try and get into like the groups, very many of the first groups I've joined, you know, it was very, very groupy. There was, you know, there would be so many likes and lovely, you know, comments and things on a post, and you kind of put up a post and it'd just be ignored. And even though I felt like, you know, some of the quality of my pictures are actually a lot better than these pictures. And I'm not getting, you know, any attention. I'm not getting any just support. And I would always support back, you know, I would leave comments and say, oh, you know, this is great. And try and be a part of it. But I just always felt, you know, segregated and kind of pushed it aside and just no. And I actually had some negative comments from a guy one time that was like, oh, you know, you just took that picture out of luck or something like that, he said. And he just started hurling abuse. And when I actually like tried to correct him on this and was like, you know, what do you mean this and that? He just blocked me from the group. So that kind of like, yeah, definitely that. Yeah. So I was like, wow. So I didn't even have a chance to be like, hey, back to him, which I would have been. He just blocked me because he knew what I said is true. He wanted me to come back at him at a place of like anger or aggression or what he thought I was going to do. And I actually just responded really politely and said, you know, I think that was really disrespectful. I said, this is a sharing group. You know, we've all shared images. And for you to comment on something like that when you don't know me, you don't know how it was captured, you didn't ask anything relating to it, but just to put your assumption on it because you felt some kind of way, jealousy or whatever else, made me really think about, you know, the world of photography and how we navigate it.
Yeah, you should have shared with us so we can all, what is his name?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot, like quite a long time ago, and probably like when I first started out as well. And like I said, I was finding groups, there weren't any Black female supported groups. That's why I'm so happy now when I see my fellow sisters doing such amazing things, such platforms such as yourself. And I have to give a lot of love and respect as well, like I said, to the UK female photography group that is now been set up in the UK by Jamelia. She's been doing some great work. And like I said, she actually made the pandemic better in a way because I was able to get published for the first time in a well-known magazine, and also have a community exhibition, you know, as part of have my work showcase in the well-known photography show. So that's two amazing things.
Landscape images, landscape and nature images?
This was, yeah, well, this particular picture, it was actually of ice lolly. It was in summer because I think it was during the pandemic, and we were showing kind of different pictures and things that we've been doing during that time. So it was just a summer day. It was when we had a perfect blue sky, it's the first blue sky in ages. And in the UK, the weather is, we can have 4 seasons in one day. So if you see a whole blue sky, you know, you're like, wow, let's go out or let's do something. And I think I was just led in the garden, and I had a round tree lolly, and it was like shaped like a strawberry, so it was green, red, and I just held it up against the blue sky, And it's one that you can see on an alternative Instagram account that I have for like lifestyle and all different things, which is at the Pink Rose Photography. You'll see it on there where it's just a lolly against the blue sky. But yeah, that's something that they chose to put forward out of a few images I submitted, and that was showcased at the photography show. So it was amazing just to see my work there. Yeah. So
did we know this? Did you send us this information?
I don't know. I think because I had, like I said, doing the creative nature, which is my main page, and all the stuff that I kind of done, I felt like I needed to kind of make a separate page to do like all these new things that I was doing, and not, I suppose that comes back to what you were saying about, you know, finding yourself in that niche or that box thing where I was like, you know, can we just exist doing one thing all in one page and are people going to get it? Or do I really need to separate, you know, some of these things, what I'm doing, so that people get what I'm doing, if that makes sense?
Yeah,
so yeah, it definitely exists, but definitely check it out. I will tag you in some stuff. I think definitely Keisha follows me on that page, so you might have to ask her to be like, hey, send me this one. She's keeping the good stuff for herself.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, wait a second, how did I miss that information?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, definitely send that picture to email it to us so we can include it in the video.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, well, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to talk to Keisha. I think she keeps secrets. Next question for you. If money was a no issue, where would you go to take pictures?
And I've thought about this question. It's been asked me before, and it's really difficult one, because I love to always say, and a lot of people will say, the motherland, you know, Africa, anywhere that I can, you know, just show the culture, the part of me, the part of, you know, the world and things that I relate to and are so important around us. But also I like showing like the different side of things that we see. Like, you know, we're always showing kind of one version. And definitely know growing up, all I ever seen on TV was, you know, poor Africa and people struggling and, oh, you know, flies and this kind of thing. And I knew that wasn't all there was, you know, and I feel like we're still, especially here in the Western world anyway, they still try and pin it off that it's this very, very poor place. And we don't have, you know, these amazing, beautiful countries and all these different cultures and different things going on. So yeah, definitely that, and showing, you know, the different side of things, you know, our side of things, our story, should I say, her story, is very, very interesting to me. But secondly, one thing that I always loved from when I was young, and I always said I wanted to go, was Niagara Falls, because I was obsessed with the big waterfall and always seeing the big rainbow that was spread against it. So that was definitely a place on my list that I want to photograph.
Oh, yeah, Niagara Falls is nice. Mm-hmm. It's huge.
Yeah, it looks it. And I can only imagine, because seeing the pictures, you already feel like it's overwhelmingly big. So being there, I know it's just a whole nother story.
Absolutely, yeah. What has been your most challenging landscape or nature capture?
I'm gonna say, I feel like it's, in the UK, it's constantly the weather, where I can't say, well, I know one time particularly we were trying to, you know, we hike, I like to hike a lot, and sometimes we'll go out and we, you know, we'll try and climb some like rocky mountains and try and get little, you know, a nice view or a different angle. And I remember a few of us friends kind of hiked up and, you know, set up all our equipment and stuff like that. And we didn't have any like waterproof gear. It was a nice day. It was calm, dry as it is. And it just started hailstoning out of out of nowhere.
Really?
So yeah, just literally all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, this is not rain, this is hard rain, like we're getting hit with stones. So we just had to like grab all our kit and just run and just get cover and get in the car. And I think that's been probably the most challenging situation, because as you're halfway up a hill or something like that with a little gear, yeah, trying to get out of that and back to safety and everything else was definitely wild. But the UK is a weird one for weather. We can go from, like I said, 4 seasons in 5 minutes. And like I said, even now it's really cold still. We're still waiting on spring, summer. So hence the pale complexion, because it feels like I've been in winter mode for forever. So yeah, please send us some of your good sun.
You know, it's so funny to hear you say that, because today it's been sunny all day and 74. So I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. And I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, where we can have 4 seasons in one day as well. And winter was winter forever. So I
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah.
Who inspires you?
Hmm. That's a tough one. I like to try and say, without being egotistical, I try and inspire myself. I try
Okay.
not to look up to too many people, like I said again, because that can give me, everyone has a different path and a different journey. I feel like I'm a person that likes to take on, my past and my learning and my experience and kind of put that forward and just try and do better in everything that I do. But I also love to see my sisters doing good work, seeing other people win, I absolutely love. And especially when there's Black female photographers out sharing their wins. Yes. And I love it all day. And that inspires me to push through and to keep doing it. And especially when I know some of these women go through the same things or, have really struggled or just feel uncomfortable in certain situations. I've gone through the same things, like I said, being in a male-dominated space. And I just really pushed them through and still being able to create or do something new or just change that narrative. So that for me is my inspiration, my keep going. So yeah, me and my sisters.
There we go. Hey. What do you have, since we're now in 2022 and past this pandemic, knock on something.
Yeah.
What are your photography goals for the year?
I definitely feel like, I'm going to keep learning. I want to do some more workshops. I want to try more with like different lighting and just having control over different things a little bit more, just trying things different. But definitely, just saying yes to more things, challenging myself, going out to more places. So there's areas that are protected in the UK. They've got a few locations that are called areas of outstanding natural beauty, so AONB. We have about 34 in England, and then there's some in Scotland and Ireland as well. So I want to hopefully visit some of them. We've done 6 out of 43, and I've took my kids to most of those locations. Like I said, they usually tag along if it's not too treacherous or climb, and they're like, oh, please, Mom, can we just go back to the Then I will, we'll try and go out and just explore new places. And that's what I said. I found some amazing places with actually blue water. Like here we see, it's pretty much muddy lakes and things like that. We don't get to see nice sea. And I'm like, there's a sea here. There's actual sand, like an hour and a half away from my house. How have I never seen this? Yeah. And I mean, some of them are like pebble beaches and not, all that. But yeah, Dorset, which is like, I think an hour and a half to 2 hours just outside London, has sand, has blue, I mean, real blue sea, like you would think you're in the Caribbean. And I'm like, how have I never seen this? So that is my challenge to myself, is like, while restrictions and certain travel things are still being ironed out, and safety is still, cautious, I'm definitely gonna explore my back garden a lot more than I have.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially you're like, it's only an hour and a half and you had no idea.
Yeah, but that's the difference. I feel like being in Bristol, because it was a smaller city and a lot more greenery, I kind of went everywhere. I feel like I know, it in and out. And London is so big that even I've lived here now probably about 11 to 12 years, I definitely still have not been to every town or anything within it. So I think over that time I'm trying to just visit a place each day or visit somewhere new. And like I said, because the weather as well has been so bad, you don't go out as much. So spring, summer this year, you're going to see my page, you're going to see more locations, you're going to see me out. So I'll definitely be doing more of that and showcasing. So I'll definitely get tagging you in some of those.
Perfect. Yes, please bring it, send it our way. Please. Yeah. So I'm gonna switch gears, no pun intended. Papa. Aside from the obvious camera gear, like your camera, what do you make sure that you keep in your camera bag?
Can I say snacks? I feel like I always got to have snacks with me. I am like notoriously bad for that, of having something. I have to have something to nibble or something. So I always say that no matter where you're going, if it's in the car or you're on long journey or walking or doing something spontaneous like me, normally I'll be like, stop, quick, I need to take a picture of that. Snacks, have them in your bag. Because I'm actually quite bad with gear, I would say in general. I only started using a camera bag maybe a year ago. So I'm still up for that. Yeah, I was literally just putting it in a normal backpack, but just like filming it out, like putting loads of, you know, cushiony fabrics in there and things like that, and just shoving it all in the bag, which I know is a good bunch. Went to anyone.
Hey, it worked as long as the camera was still
Yeah, I mean, it
working.
would get about. I was really careful with how I transport it, but yeah, I was just getting about like that. And I was like, no, I actually need something. So I just got myself, I think I've got a cheap newer bag at the moment. It was about £20 off Amazon. So maybe about $18, $16, I suppose.
Okay.
And yeah, it fits everything in. It's got nice cushiony sections. It fits all my camera and lenses in and some spare batteries. So definitely batteries and snacks, 100%.
I guess water doesn't go with you.
Yeah, well, that's dependent. But yeah, for long walks, yeah, definitely. But yeah, if we're somewhere where we can stop and get something on the way, yeah, any beverage is welcome.
So you had mentioned that you like to shoot in spring and summer. You don't go out too much in the cold months, right?
Yeah, I hibernate most of the winter. I will say I am terrible with the cold. I turn into a yellow monster in the winter. And so I do love, like, if we're really like lucky and we do have, I will say I would like autumn, because autumn is just like as everything changes. So I love the beauty of autumn because you have the leaves are coming off, you know, everything's turning red and browns and you have all the colors. Autumn I love all day, and then it starts getting cold into winter. And I would say winter for me is only really beautiful if we have like snow and it's really nice and mystical outside and things like that. Otherwise we just get really dark, gloomy, cold. And yeah, I don't
like,
deal yeah, I'm like, no, I don't deal with cold. Maybe if we had like I said, a bit more scenery and make it a bit more worthwhile, but we just get wind, wet, and it's just like, no, stay in, girl, don't go out there. So springtime for me, yeah, is the best time. You know, life is reborn. The trees are starting to blossom. We see some beautiful little cherry blossoms I've already seen started coming around, and the daffodils start popping up. And I'm like, yes, spring's coming. I can venture, I can go out, I can do so much. And, you know, the kids are happy because they can just get out and just do what they're, you know, just get involved in everything. And there's so much on then. I feel like everyone kind of sleeps with the winter as well. So there's not much going on. And then throughout spring and summer, we just have events and, you know, outdoor things. And yeah, it's just so many creative, colorful things that go on.
So in the summertime, when you're out hiking, what's your favorite hiking shoes or boots?
Oh, I like barefoot type shoes, you know, the ones that are kind of like split between, so like your foot, so you're really close to the ground. I like everything that I can really feel the ground beneath my feet, and I think that comes from always climbing trees as well. I feel like I always, well, I know that sounds funny, I know, not to put it out there, but I used to love climbing. And I still would do that, as much as my kids are like, no, please don't. I'm like, yeah, I'll go up the tree, like but I would, yeah, you stay there, I'll go. And I would just get up in the tree and I would get involved, you know, and I'll just use my feet and I would just climb the tree. But yeah, so I love that the shoes now are more adaptable. I have quite wide a foot as well, so I like everything comfortable and spacious and grippy. So definitely the barefoot shoes. And normally for my day-to-day walking, I would just wear like Prestos or, again, Vans, something with a flatter foot that I enjoy. But definitely good hiking shoes are definitely welcome if you're
absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to people that are just getting started in photography or landscape and nature, what advice would you give to beginners?
Learn your camera firstly. Just, you know, play around with it, feel comfortable with it. I think, you know, don't be afraid to set on that manual. Turn it onto your manual setting and, you know, figure it out. Take a few different pictures of things close up, far away, different settings, different lighting, just so you feel comfortable with what you're doing. And then, yeah, just go out and explore, see what's around you, and just whatever captures your eye, just take pictures. There's nothing wrong. And that's what I realized in the beginning. Like, I think now I'm quite selective. I'll set myself a challenge, like, oh, you know, I'm going to try and just take like 10 pictures today, so that I can really be like, you know, selected of what I'm taking a picture of, and what, you know, really try and get it good in camera first. But before that, I would take hundreds and hundreds of pictures, probably of the same thing, you know, some dark, some light, you know, I would play around. But that's how you learn, you know, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You just look at things. And if that if you look at that image and be like, oh, I love that, I love the way the light shines, or I love the way this looks, you don't need to look at someone else and think, oh, actually there's this really sharp, and it's not that, and then think that's then a rubbish image. No, you've seen something in that's drawn your eye, you captured it in that way. Maybe you can look into how to create it and make it better, or use lighting in a different way. If you saw something that you were like, okay, I wanted to get this and then I didn't get that result, then you can always learn and look into that. But just go out and explore, set manual and go out.
that part, to go out and do it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to kind of circle back around. You shared as far as what it means to you to see more women of color, bringing more of us out to the front, especially in the landscape and nature photography genre. And given how you had shared that, what are some things that you would like to see more from our group or the groups overall, so that we can also, continue to build our community in ways that are, much more beneficial or helpful? What were some of the things that you'd like to see more of?
I think we have to keep knocking down like walls and the doors that, like I said, that are still there, and just, so that we can be seen. But I think, just having a platform, sharing, each other's work, letting people know that, you are there, is definitely the most important thing. I still see people on a day-to-day now and they're like, oh, what, you're in what group? There's this, what? And, so sharing that information, even if it's something that you don't feel is, not as important, it is important, but I think sometimes little trivial things we won't share, or we won't, show the different side of things, and actually that could be really important to someone else or inspire someone else. But I think, just more collaborative work. Like I said, doing stuff from the UK to US, and seeing people in other spaces, just coming together as a bigger collective so that we can really, make that change and impact. And I think it's good because seeing different things across the pond, or what happens here, or the same issues that we're facing, that we can then sometimes say, well, actually it's not just an issue here, this is happening here, it's happening here, it's happening there, and that's when we can have that bigger impact and change. But I think, just keep showing up, keep sharing, keep showing what you do, and supporting and uplifting each other. So like, comment, share, people, comment, not just look and disappear. Those little things there, I say, people all the time say, oh, you're amazing, oh, how can I help, how can I get things? Just like it, just share it, pass it around, because you never know who's watching, who may see that, who may stumble across your page, just might have an opportunity, or might be something they're looking for, and then you can really help a sister out. So share, like,
that
comment.
Part. Well, before we wrap this up, we want to thank you so much, Laura, for being available. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I want to say it again. Do you have any additional comments or anything that you want to share before we close this interview out?
I just want to say big thank you really to you, like I said, UK photographers and Black women photographers as well, for these great spaces that you create, to keep inspiring, keep sharing, and keep telling our stories, because we are here and we've got stories to tell. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you are very welcome. Well, for those of you, again, thank you for watching that interview. Please, as I'm gonna piggyback off after what she just said, like, comment, and share this video. Laura, where can people find you? I know you're on Instagram. Can you provide your social media handles and your website?
Yeah, so you can catch me, all my nature and landscape is at Created by Nature Photography on Instagram and Facebook. And also I'm at the Pink Rose Photography. So that's all lifestyle and documentary new stuff that I'm doing as well. So if you want to see some new stuff, and especially the new picture and some of the published stuff that I've been getting involved with, at the Pink Rose Photography. There you have it. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already subscribed to our channel. Again, comment, share, share. This helps for us with the algorithm on YouTube, and also to share and build more of this community. So on that note, thank you all for watching, and thank you, Laura. Thank you.
For being a part of this interview.